Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. I will get right to the chase, my friends. As you've seen the title of this video, something profound just happened not too long ago. In fact, I am recording this video in the wee hours of the morning because I just have this thought, this fire burning inside of me, and I cannot sleep until I get this out of here. So, I don't watch the Oscars at all, which is why when I saw this notification scroll across my phone that Chris Rock had been slapped by Will Smith, both men who I am acquainted with in some way, shape, or form, I was shocked. I was actually pretty shocked. And then when I read into the content as to why it happened and the context surrounding it, I was even more shocked. Well, not necessarily shocked, but more so dismayed. For those of you who are unacquainted, basically, Will Smith, who is an actor, and Chris Rock, who was doing a presentation at the Oscars, made a joke about Will Smith's wife. Now, Will Smith's wife suffers from an autoimmune disorder, which can cause balding. I cannot pronounce the name of it, so I'm not going to say it, but it's on the screen right here. And essentially, Chris Rock likened Will Smith's wife to G.I. Jane, who, if any of you remember from the late 90s, was a movie detailing the journey of a woman who shaved her head and joined the military. Now, of course, Will Smith's wife didn't take that in stride, and Will Smith, well, I'll just let you guys see what happened right here.
Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, and then the aftermath was even more interesting. Let us see what happened right after Will Smith went down from the podium, sat down, and addressed Chris Rock to his face.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Take my name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
My friends, this is not a drama channel. I hate seeing human beings act this way towards each other. But I certainly believe that the local sometimes reflects the universal. And what has happened here is reflective of certain universal truths that I want all of us to focus on. First of all, let's get one thing out of the way. Violence is a retrograde of human relationships. Violence is simply the inability to handle one's human relationships with reason in a manner that is going to be productive and bear future fruit. Violence is like a car that instead of going the speed limit, goes 20 miles over the speed limit, and then when it hits something, thinks that hitting something else would do something better. As opposed to when it hits something, it slows down, or even before it hits something, it slows down and tries to avert future damage. Violence is like a wrecking ball that does not know where its target is, rather. Violence is the negation of creativity. Violence is the negation of productivity. Violence literally puts an end or a stop to something. And that is, it puts an end and a stop to human relationships. Now, in some instances, violence is okay. If you're defending yourself, then you must put an end and stop to the energy of the person trying to hurt you. But in contexts like this, it is very clearly not necessitated. My friends, there are certain ethical rules and principles that govern how we interact with other people, and that those principles are called natural law. And just to be very brief here, I believe natural law fundamentally is not just certain principles that flow from nature and human nature that can guide us in how to live morally responsibly, but natural law is also being able to see another person's humanity and the principles of their humanity, regardless of what thing they did, regardless of if they made you upset, made you angry, and then being able to reflect on that back to yourself and then treat yourself how you would treat other people, providing you love yourself. Now, if you don't love yourself, then that goes out the window. You just abide by the general rules. But natural law is not simply you following a bunch of general rules. It's you being able to reflect on the humanity of the other and act accordingly. Now, the problem is, my friends, that in that particular moment, Will Smith was overtaken by his passions. His rationality was suspended. And as the great Lord James warns us, when that happens, our bodies don't function properly and we go chaotic. And that's what happened. Will Smith went chaotic in that very moment. Nothing was working correctly. Everything was off kilter. But my friends, there's something bigger going on here. This is not just about Will Smith. This is not just about Chris Rock. This is about, again, universal. A theme that has pervaded history, going all the way back to the classics, the time of Juvenal. This is about an aversion to the radical truth-telling that comedy really is all about. My friends, we are beset by a bunch of overly sensitized people who want to sterilize the cold, hard facts of reality through censorship, through the induction of PC culture, through the induction of things that shield us from them. Comedy, my friends, is simply a way of reckoning with the cold, hard facts of reality in a language that is universal to man. What do I mean? Comedy allows us to reflect on matters both far and close, both universal and local, in a manner that frees our judgment from the shackles of our preconceptions. It is therefore true, my friends, that comedy is a necessary ingredient in the cocktail of a life well lived, in that mixture of a life well lived. You can't have that without having the ability to keep the load off and just endorse that natural human language that everyone in every culture has experienced, and that is laughter. My friends, we may have our own little religious sects, we may have our own belief systems, we may have our own political views, and those things may be specific to us, but there are certain things that are universal to the human experience. Reason is universal to the human experience, and from reason we're able to deduce certain ethical rules that guide our moral thinking or should guide our moral thinking. And just as reason is universal to the human experience, so is the ability to laugh. Laughter is fundamentally universal to the human experience. Laughter is so disarming because it can make something that is so sensitive and so avoided approachable in an instant. Humor can make the coldest, hardest facts of life pleasant and sweet, if only for just one moment. In the gateway that humor allows us to walk into is precisely a kind of tool we can use to live a more fulfilling life. My friends, it is true that Will Smith's wife has an autoimmune disease that causes her pain, most certainly physical pain and emotional pain, and takes away an aesthetic quality that is coveted by the vain minds of this era. Trust me, I know in a different sense. I don't have that disorder, but I am bald, and when you're bald at 21 years old, you don't get a lot of nice remarks. I understand, I get how, but she's dealing with something even more difficult. And I don't mean to trivialize, I'm just saying, I understand to a certain level. And the aesthetic quality that she's missing is something that people mock her about and deride her about. And so Will Smith feels the compulsion to get up and say, hey, you will not mention this. But guess what? The fact is she's still dealing with that ailment. She's still dealing with that condition. And comedy can make the bitter harshness of that condition feel so sweet and tender and allow you to deal with it in a manner that's going to be healthy to you. Because my friends, if you look at something bad and simply see something bad and you don't see an opportunity, you don't see a pathway to understand and try to deal with that thing in a healthy way that keeps you smiling, you will remain in a state of sadness and disorder for the rest of your life. You must be able to reckon with the struggles of life, because life ultimately is endemic to struggle. With the struggles of life, or rather struggles endemic to life, with the struggles of life, if you don't reckon with them in a way that keeps a smile on your face, then what in the world? How will you be able to handle them? So many people cave to life's ills because they have never realized or found out how to reckon with them. And they want to retreat into these overly sensitized areas where no one will challenge them. And that makes them that degrades the greatness of their human spirit. Human beings have been reckoning with the cold, hard facts of life, since the beginning of our existence. Whether it be in the hunter-gatherer period where we got together and we collaborated to get resources, to get food, even if we had our own differences. And then as civilization continued to blossom, the religious wars that happened, the political wars that happened, the birth of tyrannies around the world. Then when the Enlightenment happened, the sort of recognition of certain eternal universal truths about man, which culminated into the manifestation of the American experiment. There have been so many instances throughout history where man has had to reckon with life, has had to take it by the horns and then tear it down so he can get up. And you're going to tell me, Will Smith, and those who sympathize with him, that you cannot reckon with something, even though those who came before you were able to reckon and had less means than you. Comedy, my friends, is the lubricant that allows us to get past our own boundaries. It allows us to break off our preconceptions and see things in a different light. And when you can see things through a multifaceted lens, you can see the world much better, because the world does not simply exist in black and white. The world exists in color. And there are so many ways to see the world. Now, there is a right way to see the world, certainly, but you can only get to that right way by being able to use the variety of different ways to get to that truth. And comedy is one of those ways. Comedy and satire share a genus. And by a genus, I mean, you know how a panther and a lion are a part of the same, they're practically cats? Well, but they're different kinds of cats. That's what I mean. Comedy and satire are in the same family, even though they have different functions. Although they have the same effect in many cases. They use humor as a way to approach matters that are inherently difficult. But that is liberating. Because by using humor to approach a matter that is difficult, you again take the weight off. My friends, this is not about Chris Rock. About Kevin Hart. It's not about Chris Rock. This matter, or Will Smith. This is about the eternal struggle between comedy and truth, between social perception and feelings, between sensitivity and being able and persistence. These conceptual struggles underlie this entire event. But guess what? The moment we can look at the struggles of life in the eye and say the universal spirit of laughter that exists in every single human being is going to come out of me, and it's going to let me deal with you in a way that's going to make this struggle seem like it's nothing, that's the moment we'll be able to fully embody the human spirit on a level that we've never thought before. That's the moment we'll be able to not see the pains of life or experience the pains of life so much as pains as we do see them as opportunities for growth and understanding. That is when tragedy won't be so tragic, but they'll still have, it's still tragedy, but it won't be so tragic in what it does to us. We'll be able to process it better. And now my belief is that if Will Smith and his wife, who I believe instigated the entire thing, if she had been ever able to see the tragedy that is happening to her through a different light, perhaps that bitterness wouldn't exist so much in her heart, and perhaps she would have been able to enjoy this night and take it in stride. I'm not saying what he said was right. Chris Rock's joke was in bad taste, and it's disrespectful, and it's wrong. But what I'm also saying is that Chris Rock is simply the medium through which a certain idea is being expressed. He's not the subject, per se. He's not the subject. Comedy, truth, and that relationship, that eternal relationship, that tension, that's the subject. Think on it, my friends. I love you guys so much. If you love me, please be sure to support me on Patreon, patreon.com/officialcwatson. Please be sure to donate to my PayPal, officialcwatson@gmail.com. Be sure to comment in the comment section down below. And also, please be sure to join my Discord, which is also in the comment section down below as well. I love you guys so much, and please, forever and eternally, stay pensive. Bye, guys.